Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Mr. Roy, for being here, first of all, and bringing the, we thought the whole office jokingly earlier, but no, bringing a large team with you of support, because I think it clearly demonstrates the size and scope of the department you represent, and also the many different facets that you, broad range of areas that you cover for our province and the work that your team does. So thank you all for being here. I know it's probably a long afternoon, but we appreciate it, and we get the answers and get the support that you need and that we need to get the answers. So it's a good combination, I guess, for sure. I want to start by saying my riding is Moncton South, but I wanted to thank you and the department, I guess, for showing the confidence in our community in the renewal of your offices in the downtown core of Moncton, and modernization that was done there over the last, I guess, couple of years overall that it took to make it all happen. But the reality is it's increased service levels immensely. I think there's a lot less negative feedback that we were getting from people that everything's working really smoothly, and people seem much more happier. And being a retailer, formerly a retailer, customer service is what it's all about, and keeping the people happy. So I thank you for that show of confidence in our community, in our city, in our region, and it is bearing fruit for sure. Having said that, I recently received communication from the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Moncton regarding delays in the Brunswick Land Registry. They presented it as an urgent request. If it's urgent for them, it's certainly urgent for me. Many businesses, most of the businesses in my riding are represented by the Chamber, and they're concerned. They're asking that government reconsider the centralization of the land registry services and ensure that the resources that were present in the regional offices become available again at several points of service to reduce the application processing times and thus return to the previous deadlines. They say municipalities are seeing increased delays, which have all but tripled within the last year and since the centralization of services. In your opening remarks, you talked about modernization efforts of several areas of service in New Brunswick, and we accept that. In 2020, 2021, you indicated that the Land Registry Unit Modernization Planet. What does that mean, New Brunswickers? And will you also respond to the concerns of the Chamber of Commerce in particular, I guess? Can you help me with that?
Okay. For the comment regarding the new location, or the revised location for the service center in Moncton. Land registry location itself, as you know, was a centralized, it's a centralized process, and that actually occurred back in 2016, for those that are less familiar with that. We centralized all of the land registry services to one location across the province. And I know that there have been delays in land registry processing times. We're dealing with a number of factors there. Pre-pandemic, and I had mentioned some of those numbers earlier, we went from about 88,000 transactions per year to 110,000 transactions per year. Huge increase in volume of activity. At the same time, we had staff members retiring and then trying to hire new staff members. And the challenge with it is very technical type work that these individuals do, and we hire them today. There's certain things they can do day one, but it takes a year or two before they get proficient at being able to perform those skills. So I want to be clear here, it's not so much about the centralized location. I mean, I'll admit I was never a fan of necessarily going to that part of the province, but the centralized effort, what we actually can do as a result of that is we distribute the workload equitably. So rather than having staff spread out throughout the province, and they would be responsible, this was a county-based land registry system, each deputy registrar or survey technician, mapping technician would have been responsible for the mapping and the documents registered in their county. With the centralized land registry approach, we're actually able to process the documents in a much more timely fashion. So, because it's a provincial approach. Moncton has been extremely busy. So not only has the province been busy with land registry transactions, the province has, Moncton in particular has, as opposed to the province. And we're able to assign that workload, distribute it evenly across the province, and benefit an area that would be a little busier than, say, the county-based approach that we were using in the past. To give you, again, just a sense of where we are today, so provincially based, we're able to distribute the workload a little bit better. You'll be pleased to know that processing times for registrations have actually practically returned to pre-COVID-19 levels. As of January 13th, processing times were between 1 and 7 business days, and depending on the type of documents presented, it should be noted that simple transfers, which represents about 93% of all documents, so a deed transferring land to the grantor, to the grantee, can actually be currently 1-day processing time. 93% of the documents are processed within a 1-day turnaround. The registrations that are more complex, the reviews by survey and title examiners, and that represents, again, about 7% of the total volume. Currently, we're at 7 business days. And the improvement, as much as I'd like to take the credit for it, it's really because of the cooling of the housing market. I mean, we've added some new staff, we've improved our processes, we did some modernization efforts, added actually six new individuals to the team for that area. Is it perfect? No. But our transaction times are getting closer to pre-COVID levels, as I said, 1 in 7 days, depending on the complexity. Also, as our land registry offices became much more busy, just the sheer volume, it was busier for our land surveyors and the law society that are processing many of these transactions that come into the registry offices. We observed a higher than normal rejection rate for documents coming into the system. So we've worked with the Law Society and the Survey Association to try and ensure that fewer documents get registered, allowing us to process the information much quicker. And that's helped a lot, but I'm talking in some cases, the documents themselves could have been rejected 3 and 4 times because of errors contained in the documents, making them non-acceptable for registration. So sometimes people think that the delay is actually on Service New Brunswick's end, when in fact it could be the documents that we received were not in registrable format. We communicate that to the parties involved that are doing the registrations, and sometimes there's a bit of toing and froing to make sure that the documents finally get registered in the appropriate format. So that is just a reality of what we're dealing with. And we've communicated to the parties involved to offer additional support as required to ensure. Some of it was on our end, certainly some of it was on the end of the providers of that information. In terms of the modernization of the Planet system itself, just get some notes on that. Back in 2018, Caris, the company that we were using to essentially support the IT infrastructure for Planet, that was purchased by a separate company, Teledyne, and they advised us that they would no longer be providing the same level of support that they were providing to Planet at that time. And so what we did is we brought that Planet maintenance inside, and we also put a number of enhancements in place. So you may not be aware, but Planet is an integrated online source of land registration, property assessment, property mapping, and real property information services. It's evolved into a large complex system which supports land registry operations within the province. The new mapping interface browser was implemented in September of 2020. GeoNB is now able to offer new products that contain layers of geographical information, things like road network, water network, crown lands, wetlands, and other data sets. And so New Brunswickers can actually go online free of charge to access GeoNB information in all those various layers. On the access to the planted information or the real property information browser, they can access that information for a fee and as part of a subscription. And we're in the process where in the near future, individuals will actually be able to access information for a small fee on their mobile devices. So a number of moving parts. Yes, land registry transactions have been going through the roof. We've seen it leveling it off. And we're able to get closer to our KPIs, our key performance indicators in this area. Still a bit of work to do, but 7 days, 1 day for a simple transaction, 7 days for a complex transaction would be certainly leading most other jurisdictions across the country in this space for delivery times. So thank you for the question.